Yeah, but
It's where they raise all of our
all of our
X-Men now.
yeah, all of our three-eyed gazelles and our five-footed toes.
Blinky
yeah.
from The Simpsons is probably from there.
Yeah, probably. It's named after the tiny town of Fernald, which I can't really seem to find on the Google aerials, but that's about 15 miles northwest of Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, the nasty.
It was also known to the locals as NLO, which stands for National Lead of Ohio, which ran the plant for the owners, of course, as I said, the U.S. government. So they sort of ran it on a day-to-day basis, but still the government made the ultimate decisions as to what happened at the plant.
There's owners and then there's the contractor who runs it.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty standard.
Yeah.
Especially for the U.S. government.
Yeah.
And so the plant was under the control of the Atomic Energy Commission until 1979 when the Department of Energy took it over. There were some environmental and safety issues with it, and those had actually been ongoing for a long time. Since like the 50s, National Lead was reporting problems to the AEC about,
The Atomic Energy
leakage.
Commission.
Yeah, exactly. Dust, like they had these weird bag cloth dust filters because there was a lot of uranium dust from processing all this uranium, so that would get filtrated and deposited into these bags, kind of like vacuum cleaner bags almost. And, well, those things had a tendency to break and spew dust everywhere and things like this. There were all kinds of issues like this that were ongoing.
Can I take this aside for a second? I was thinking about this today, and Devin, you may not remember this, but kind of in the 70s and the 80s, there was this mode of, well, this is the way it is, and we'll just do this stuff, and it's okay, technology isn't really advancing, because by and large, the general public didn't see technology making huge leaps and bounds like we do today. Mm-hmm. Could you imagine what the world would be like if we had all got stuck in, say, 1982, and for some reason our technology just didn't advance? What a frickin' mess things would be in terms of all of the stuff that it's okay, you can pour it into the river, you can bury it into the ground, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we weren't quite there, and by 1982 we were cleaning things up, actually.
Well, but still, not everywhere. But my point is, like, what it would have been if we just stopped doing and just kept on status quo through the 90s.
Sounds like something to write to the Star Trek people about. Yeah, have them do an episode on that.
Yeah, I think they might have.
Yeah.
It's Planet of the Tribbles.
Yeah, Captain's Log, Stardate in 1972. Yeah. But enough about those environmental issues, which they had. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while. But they did have those. But we don't know whether or not they had much to do with Dave Box or not. That really wasn't his job. He was, like I said, a pipe fitter. And his job was to, inspect and repair the various equipment, pipes, whatever. Yeah.
Like the pipes that were feeding the vacuum tubes?
Yeah.
He was part of the maintenance crew.
Yeah.
He worked the midnight shift. He was, the swing?
Yeah, he was graveyard.
Graveyard,
so midnight to like 7 a.m. or 7:30.
Right, so his job was straight up maintenance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. The plant was shut down, and he and his crew would go out and just maintain things. Dave was last seen at the Fernald plant about 5 a.m. on the morning of June 19, 1984. He was pronounced legally dead about 2 years later. And so let's start on the night of Dave's disappearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, he carpooled to work with a guy named Harry Easterling.
Usually carpool with, right?
Yeah, he's a regular guy. And actually, Harry, if you want to see, he appeared on Unsolved Mysteries on an episode about this.
Yep.
Yeah. And he and Harry usually met at this restaurant parking lot, and one of them would leave their car, and they'd go in one car. On that night, Harry picked up Dave about 11 p.m. Harry reported no unusual behavior from Dave that night, except that he had bought a new lunchbox. So
very suspicious.
Yeah, that's suspicious.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and that's about, he said something about maybe he was talking about maybe taking his kids on vacation the next summer or something, or later in the summer. Harry Easterling said that he and Dave always began their workday in the maintenance room, which apparently was in this thing they call the maintenance building. That was a special maintenance building. He said that Dave, as usual that day, unlocked his toolbox and left the lock with the keys in it on top of the box. Dave's assignment that day was to go repair some equipment in Plant 8 in what was called the whistleblower meat hook room.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true.
I'm pretty sure that's not the name.
I don't think so.
No, but, he was assigned to Plant 8. I'm not sure exactly. I heard not specifically what he was supposed to do over there, but he was supposed to go do something. By the way, I tried to find a map of this whole complex because it's a huge place.
Yeah.
And I guess the government didn't publish maps of it, surprisingly enough.
Shock.
I know. I was not able to find one on the webs anywhere.
Yeah, it was a government facility.
So,
Weird.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, like, you probably can't find maps of, like, Bonneville Dam, for instance, can you?
Probably not.
I mean, you wouldn't, that's not the sort of thing you would want the general public to be able to snag, just
No.
in case.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
just attention terrorists, sensitive
Yeah.
pressure point
Yeah.
right here. Yeah. That kind of thing.
Yeah. This is where you put the bomb.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, so no map. So where all these buildings are in relation to one another, I don't know. And of course, the place is torn down. You can't even look at it on Google.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone. So we're just gonna have to wing it on that one. But Dave left his toolbox in the maintenance room instead of taking it with him. I'm not sure why he did that, but apparently
He
that's
did
what
that on a
did.
regular basis.
Apparently, yeah. So he must have just decided what tools he was going to need and
Yeah.
taken them and off
Seems
he
like,
went.
I mean, he'd worked there for a while, hadn't he?
Yeah, he's worked there since '81, so
Yeah.
about 3 years.
So you probably by that point know, if somebody says, okay, you got to go fix this certain type of pipe, he says, all right, I need these 5 different tools, and,
Off I go,
he's
yeah. Why
also
carry it?
probably
Yeah.
hourly,
Yeah.
so like, oh no, if he has to walk back or something.
If you've ever, it's a government job, so
Yeah.
who cares if you have to walk back and forth 5 times? You're
Yeah.
still getting paid the same,
Yeah.
rather than lugging that heavy box. But Joe, I thought he had worked there longer than that. I thought he had started there like more than a decade prior to his disappearance.
I don't know, I could be wrong. I heard that he started in 1981, but hey.
Okay,
maybe I'm wrong.
I
don't
thought that he had been working there since the early
Maybe
to
he
mid
started-
70s.
Maybe he started his position as a pipe fitter in 81, but he was doing something else.
Maybe that's it. He started out like a typist or something like that.
Well,
Yeah.
like a general maintenance handyman or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
okay. I
That's,
swore he'd
yeah.
been there for much longer. Like, I felt like he had had a lot of career time there.
Yeah, I don't know. What does matter is that this particular night was the last night of his career there. And then okay, what was I was talking about his toolbox. The toolbox was there a few days later after Dave disappeared. He left his toolbox, went up to Plant 8 to fix the radioactive snitch rectifier. That was reportedly making an odd sound.
Did it? And his toolbox was missing some tools, though, right? As you would
Nobody has
expect.
said that I can find what tools were gone, what tools were not gone.
Okay,
But the
okay.
toolbox was there and with a lock on top of it. Apparently, Dave trusted his coworkers.
Yeah.
I guess they must have all had a good relationship.
Or it was company tools.
Yeah, and maybe he didn't care. Good point.
Which
too.
is weird. That is weird, though. Why would you leave your keys instead of carrying them around?
Well, that's the thing is, he gets the toolbox out, and it's got a padlock on it. So obviously he doesn't trust people to not steal from it. And then he opens
Well,
it
he
up.
doesn't trust the day people.
Maybe that's
Thank
what it
you.
is.
I just had that thought. I was
It
like,
must-
oh no, he trusts the maintenance people, nobody else.
Yeah.
That must be what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so
They're
he-
probably throwing his tools in the oil vats or the acid vats or something. I think it was funny.
Yeah, that could.
Look at
have
it
been.
sizzle.
Yeah, people are like planting drugs in there, planting crack. So that night, according to Unsolved Mysteries, an unnamed coworker of Dave's. So, and we never do get a chance to find out who this person was.
Unnamed.
He was unnamed. He said that he saw Dave in a pickup truck with his supervisor having a heated discussion about something, but the windows of the truck were rolled up, so the coworker could not hear what was being discussed. By the way, this struck the coworker as odd, the windows being up, because it was a warm night.
I have one. I'm always disturbed when we have a single source for something like that, especially when it comes from Unsolved Mysteries. But I had heard it as not a heated but a serious conversation.
That's another way of putting it. I've heard it actually characterized as an argument.
Well, I was
Yeah.
going to say there's a couple of different. Well, if you look at it, I was thinking about it. Serious conversation. It could be a very serious, quiet tone, or it could be serious as in one person it's serious. They're not trying not to cry or something. But the windows were up. What I want to know, was the vehicle turned on? Because it might have had the AC going.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was wondering too. So the windows being rolled up might have been totally normal.
Then again, it's a government vehicle, so it probably didn't have AC because they always bought the cheapest jalopy possible.
Yeah, actually, it was 84. I bet government vehicles all have AC now.
Oh,
but, yeah.
Standard.
Yeah.
But maybe not back in those days.
No, I remember my dad being in government vehicles, regular civilian cars and trucks, and they were always the lowest model. It's kind of like you've been in a Forest Service truck before, haven't you, Joe?
Yeah, I think so.
They have nothing in them. Whatever comes bare bones standard is what they get. So but then again, it's a supervisor vehicle, so maybe he qualified for a AC
stuff. Yeah, he could have. But anyway, again, this is coming to us courtesy of some unnamed anonymous person too. So who the hell knows? And apparently, the same person around 5 a.m. spotted Dave again, and Dave was headed towards Plant 4, which also struck his coworkers odd since Dave's job assignment, of course, was in Plant 8.
And we don't have any records that say that he finished the job in Plant 8 and may have been sent to 4 to deal with something else.
Well, that's entirely possible. Also, Plant 4, there was supposed to be a safety meeting around 7 a.m. early to get a good seat.
Or to take a nap.
Yeah, it could have been take a nap or screw around.
Eat his lunch.
Yeah. Who knows? And I don't know what's in the direction of Plant 4. Maybe Plant 3, Plant 5, something else.
Maybe Plant 8.
Maybe a bathroom.
Maybe it's, they're parallel, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and then they're just right next to each other.
I am not knowing.
Doesn't matter. Anyway.
But, so, and anyway, this was the last person who saw Dave alive.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly at least. Well,
the last person to come forward.
Yeah, he was admitted to seeing him alive. Dave did not make it to the safety meeting, of course. Maybe that's not why he was headed towards Plant 4. Maybe, like we said, maybe he was headed towards Plant 5. Plant 3.5. I don't know. Harry Easterling said that at the end of the shift, he noticed that Dave's toolbox was still sitting there with the keys on it, but no Dave. Harry looked for Dave for a little bit. Eventually left a message with the security guard to give to Dave, saying that he was going home, saying that he would meet him again at the usual spot tomorrow.
Yeah, Harry thought he was just figured he'd picked up more work for the night.
Maybe doing some overtime or something like that, yeah.
Although, God, it seems like, do either of you remember what he said their commute time was from the restaurant to the plant?
I don't know. That's a good, I'm assuming it was somewhat substantial. I mean, otherwise, why bother carpooling?
Well, that's exactly my thing.
But it also couldn't have been more than an hour, because if they started at midnight and met at 11.
Yeah, but a 30-minute drive is a long way to have to hoof it on foot if he decides to work a couple of hours. You would think that... I understand why Harry called and said, hey, tell him I left, so he could, cajole somebody into giving him a ride to his vehicle.
I assume that's what happened. Somebody would have given him a ride. Somebody didn't give him a ride.
And this is in the days, of course, before we had text messaging, although intercompany phones are a thing, and so you would imagine that he would have called the switchboard and figured out where the hell he was so he could track Dave, that is. If Dave was working overtime, could have figured out where Harry was and called Harry and told him, but
I don't know.
Who knows?
Reportedly, Dave had a walkie-talkie on him, so I would assume they all had walkie-talkies.
That's the equivalent of inter-office phones.
Yeah, so I don't know if Harry tried to raise him on a walkie-talkie. I assume he would have, but I got no reply back because, I don't know. Something happened to Dave.
So Dave doesn't go home with Harry?
He does not, but Harry the next night goes to meet Dave in the usual place in the restaurant parking lot, sees Dave's car parked there, and assumed that Dave was not in the car, assumed that he might be in the restaurant getting some food or something, but Dave...
Apparently he did that.
Yeah, occasionally, but Dave, as it turns out, was not in the restaurant either. So Harry goes to work, looks for Dave. Dave's not there, and so he reported him missing, and they began to search his premises, which, as you can imagine, would have taken a while because it's a big place.
And isn't this where Harry said he got to the maintenance building and saw Dave's lock and everything sitting there? His toolbox was still wide open from the night before, or presumably from the night before.
Yeah, toolbox still sitting there with keys on it, or in it. So they started a search, and sometime in the morning of the 20th, that's June 20th, somebody in Plant 6 noticed that one of the furnaces in the building, there were several different types. One of them had suddenly dropped 28 degrees in temperature at 5:15 a.m. on June 19th.
Plant 6.
In Plant 6. Yeah, so in Plant 6, there were 3 types of furnaces that I've been able to find out about, and they operated at temperatures between about 1,150 degrees Fahrenheit and about 1,365 degrees Fahrenheit.
Do we know what that is?
Kind of hot.
Celsius?
Really hot.
It's hot, yeah. It's really smoking hot. It's like 99 degrees Celsius. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know, but it's super hot. Yeah, it's hot enough to, I think, make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least.
Briefly until you died.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The furnace in question, at least as far as I can tell, was called the Automated Ingot Preheat Furnace, which contained a bath of molten salt, which is kept at a temperature of around 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. And this was used for heating and softening iridium ingots, which were then squished into a rounder, more rod-shaped form in something called a blooming press, like a blooming machine.
Wait, okay, now, is it actually, I saw this in your stuff before, and I was confused a little bit here, Joe, because it's not actually salt. They called it green salt.
Yeah,
but it wasn't
not
actually
like
salt.
Table salt, but it's some sort of.
It's metals and there is some salts in it, but that's what I want to make sure people don't think that it's the white stuff that you pour on your meat and potatoes.
Not quite the same now. And by the way, sodium is metal. Have you ever seen pure sodium?
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's metal. I mean, yeah. So that salt you're eating, that's metal, man. That's okay though. Your body needs minerals, so it's not a problem.
Just not the heavy kind.
Yeah, no. These furnaces took days to heat up and cool down, so they were left on all the time, even, of course, overnight when the production lines were all shut down and all the maintenance workers are out there.
That's not uncommon in production facilities.
Oh, yeah. And so on the morning of June 20th, one of the operators of the furnace noticed a sticky residue on it. Again, this is somewhat apocryphal. I'm not totally sure.
I was going to say, if it is a skin on the top of this hot molten liquid material, I think the term sticky is inappropriately applied because everything is gooey hot.
Yeah, you're going to be sticking your finger down there to figure it out. But I think he was noticing it was on the casing of it, like kind of on the outside and on the inside. And so I'm not really sure where this one comes from because besides reading, I read some newspaper accounts, and also there was a court case involving this stuff. And I didn't see anything about sticky substance or anything like that.
But again, this is again from Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
So again, I question where if that's real or not.
Again, this is another one of those persons too who is unnamed. They only have actually 2 people there who actually are named.
Dave and
Dave's daughter and Harry.
Yeah.
The other ones who actually go on camera and are named.
Well, Dave doesn't go on camera.
Yeah, Dave's daughter.
The actor does though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there is a Dave in there. Yeah. That's
the real Dave.
Point. Yeah, different guy. But one thing we do know about Unsolved Mysteries or not is they did indeed shut that furnace off so they could look inside and see if there were any clues in there about the missing Dave, because they hadn't found him anywhere else. But it took 3 days, of course, for the furnace to cool down enough to where they could stick their hands in there and feel around.
Pretty sure.
When they finally got around to poking around in the furnace, they did find stuff that shouldn't have been there. There was a set of keys, a steel toe from a work boot, part of an eyeglass frame, and Dave, of course, did wear glasses, pieces of a walkie-talkie, and a piece of stainless steel wire that has been looped together in 3 circles.
Do we know the size of that?
No.
Am I the only one that's amazed that they find these things in a molten furnace that was operating for at least a day?
I thought it was suspicious that they found that ring under Clarence Roberts. And that was just a fire and some gold. This is incredible to me.
Well, actually, I checked that because I was thinking too. They found the keys, for example. The keys were not totally undamaged, but I would have expected them to just be a little blob.
Molted.
Well, it turns out the melting point of brass, which is what most keys are made of, is actually well above 1,200 degrees.
Oh.
Yeah, Fahrenheit. So
this is like that Breaking Bad, when he's like, oh, I'm just going to stick all of this certain kind of thing in the tub because that's going to be stronger than the plastic that Mr. White told you. Did you not see?
I saw Breaking Bad. I don't remember that particular one.
When he's trying to decompose the bodies.
Oh,
yeah.
And he has the acid, and he's
And it
like, I'm
melts
just gonna
through.
stick it in the tub. Yeah, it's like that, right?
Uh-huh.
Where you
Yeah.
just logically in your brain, you're like, well, yeah, it's hot, so it melts metal. That's cool, but apparently not.
Oh, it does, just not. Well, yeah, it's just not quite hot enough to do it. So
The human bone, though, that
Well, that actually also the human bone does not disintegrate either. It's just like it would be cooked enough to where it would be extremely brittle and where it would break up in a fragment very easily. But it doesn't actually. If you were to like heat a human skeleton at that temperature, it would stay intact.
Huh.
I mean, you could crush it very, very easily, but it would stay intact.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. That's why crematoriums pulverize bones once they come out of the fire. Never mind. Sorry.
You're welcome, everyone.
Totally just forgot about that.
Yeah. Oh,
And we don't know anything about the steel wire.
No, not that.
Okay.
And it was in terms of size, the loops were, I think,